guys, welcome to Malty Monday this week. Really cool and kind of special feature this week. We just released an awesome chocolate bar. We kind of did a collaboration with one of our chocolate producers, Luisa, Abram. If you haven't checked out their stuff, you should. It's awesome. It's all wild Brazilian cacao. So wild Jurua, guys. So the Rio Jurua is a river that runs through the Amazon, and Luisa Abram used to make a chocolate bar that she used beans from the riverside of this area in Brazil. And she was no longer really able to keep that program going and the capabilities to do that. So we kind of stepped in, and Matt and Yelena came up with this awesome idea where they paid for everything up front. They paid for a new fermentory there in the area. They paid for all the beans and all the chocolate that was made from the beans coming into the United States up front to kind of keep this program going. And I'll kind of let Rio go into the beer and tell you a little bit more about that after, but really cool chocolate bar that we're featuring.
Super cool. The chocolate was so good I got to sample it, and it was nice and kind of rich and tannic and wonderful. And I tried a couple of dark beers. It seemed like it wanted a dark beer. And what I ended up settling on was Samuel Smith's Oatmeal Stout. This is a really cool brewery, one of the older breweries in the UK. They're up in Tadcaster, which is kind of northern England, and this is their Oatmeal Stout. So this brewery was established in 1758. It's a really old school brewery. They still use their original well that they drilled in 1758 for their water, and they also use these old really cool fermenters that are like stones cut into squares, and then like they hollow out the cube, and that's where they ferment it with no lid on it or anything. It's this really kind of old school method, and one of my favorite things about them too is they have this house yeast. I was really loving the interaction between like the dark malts that go in an oatmeal stout and the yeast that they use. It's kind of fruity. It's like kind of an English character. It's not quite as expressive as like a Belgian yeast that we've done here, but it's still very expressive for the English yeast, and it's got these wonderful notes, and it really blended great with the chocolate. An oatmeal stout, obviously a stout, about 5%. Also got a ton of oatmeal, which gives it this great texture, which really helps it stand up against this bar. Together they went really well. It's chocolate and dark beer is one of those things. If you do it right and you have them in your mouth at the same time, you kind of can't tell where one ends and the other begins.
Yeah, it was cool. It added a little bit of like caramely notes to the beer as well, which was really sweet. But
kind of brought out exactly some of the sweetness in the beer because of the tannin. But for a 70% bar, it's not super bitter. It's
not at all. Yeah, you can kind of cool too. They did an awesome job with the packaging, kind of featuring everything, kind of busted open. But yeah, guys, Luisa Abram's really cool. I was kind of geeking out on him before we did this tasting. One thing that's so cool about it is the fact that they do use wild cacao. And I was kind of talking to Rio about this a little bit. It's kind of like their chocolate's kind of like, I don't know if this is the best way to put it, but kind of like wine. It almost has like vintages, right? Because since it is wild cacao, year to year, the fruit's changing so much that their chocolate changes, and it's really cool. It's very small batch and hands-on. It's really fun to see that kind of stuff like when you're working with these chocolate producers. So these guys are doing things the right way. Yeah.
Do a snap, don't I?
Yeah. No, but Luisa Abram's awesome. Like I said, guys, we just released this chocolate bar. There's not a ton of it, but there's a pretty good handful, so make sure you get some, try it. And yeah, thanks, guys.
It's really good.
Hopefully we got some more cool stuff like this coming down the line. I think it's really cool. This is one of my favorite things about working for Matt and Yelena is they do stuff like this. So cheers to those guys.